This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently. That's okay.
My number comes in as expected, hot, at up 1.2%. Up 1.2%. That means that's the highest month-over-month inflation rate since 2005. If we strip out the all-important food and energy, it's up 0.3, about half what we expected, and well below the high water mark, which was April. And April was up 0.9%. That was the highest in 41 years. So we definitely eased back. Now let's go to the year-over-year numbers. 8.5% usurps 7.9%. 8.5% remains a 41-year high. You have to go back to 1981. And finally, we're looking at year-over-year core, expected up 6.6, comes in at 6.5, taking out the 6.4%. So up at 6.5, we are now looking once again to comp back to 82. That remains the same. With respect to comping, and the reason is because in 82, we traded all the way up to 9.1%. So you could see that 6.5 has some room to continue to go back to the same point 4 decades plus, and that really is the issue here, isn't it? Now, when we adjust earnings for inflation, if you look at hourly earnings on a year-over-year basis, they're down 2.7%. Adjusted for inflation on weekly year-over-year earnings, down 3.6%. And this is really something to pay attention to. We're all together for the last big jobs report. We saw the very historic year-over-year wage gains at 6%, best since record keeping in 97. But we can see that it doesn't keep up with inflation. So these numbers outside of month-over-month core are all hot. They're all cycle highs, something to pay attention to. We know that the Federal Reserve definitely went onto the shoulder of the road, thinking that inflation would be moderating. And, of course, Leo Brannard will be addressing some of these very issues. Their long-term models still say it's going back to 2%, and maybe the change will come down to 2% at some point. But the gains and where we stick on the board is going to remain higher than it was, and that's really what the middle class and most people in America understand. Joe, back to you.
So we are now past our 40-year high, still boiling hot. March created new all-time highs for the CPI surging at 8.5, which came in today from 7.9 last month. It will continue to rise and get worse. Guys, prepare. The feds and this administration does not put America first in anything that they have been doing since day one of 2021. All I have seen is more disruption in our economy, from supply chain shortages to new employee numbers and the Great Resignation. Along with the ride, inflation continues to accelerate, also due to the Russian invasion in Ukraine, which we have nothing to do with, and these sanctions will hurt us, the USA, Eurozone, and Ukrainians, and also the Russian people, which constrains supply chains, rapid prices in fuel needed for everything from gas for vehicles to energy for manufacturing goods and services to agriculture. This is going to get worse as we move forward. Let's see what's going on and get more information to better prepare us. Editor, roll clip, fair use.
The evidence is finally going Pal's way. Team Transitory is going to win.
Several days later.
How long does inflation have to run above your target before the Fed decides maybe it's not so transitory?
Well, I think it's probably a good time to retire that word.
Now, I have to tell you, today is a very important day. Why? Because we had the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, and it came in line, but some of the things were actually pretty good. We're starting to see perhaps a sign, this is what people are betting, that inflation is peaking. Now, that's why you have this. But Jeff, one of the things we know is that what's more important is that the market's oversold, and it didn't get a number that was terrible.
Right. So CPI, that's the Fed's most closely watched metric as a sign of inflation. You mentioned we're getting oversold. S&P oscillator is at minus 1.74, so not quite there, but certainly moving in the right direction. And again, I think the key line from that CPI report, ex food and energy, it was a 0.3% month over month increase compared to 0.5% in the prior month. So inflation still rising, but at a slower pace.
Right, and that's the rate of change.
Giving some signs of potentially.
I think inflation will peak this quarter.
There are a lot of reasons for that. Chief among them is we're starting to solve some of our supply shortage problems, and there's some transitory issues. Yes, I use the word. That does not mean you should stop worrying about inflation, Stuart. It's still a big problem. If inflation peaks, it's going to go down, but to still unacceptable levels. Our guess is by the end of the year, inflation will be running 4, not 8.
How can the market rally strongly or even get back to its old highs if you've got 4% inflation at the end of the year? How can you do that?
I don't think it'll happen. I think the high for the year was sadly made in the first week of the year, Stuart. Obviously, the inflation is the big problem. We had a war come along that aggravated that. And now we got to start thinking about corporate earnings. Can corporate America pass on the cost pressures they have with wages and raw materials? They won't all be able to do that, and so we'll probably have some earnings leakage as the quarters go by. So I think it's going to be a tough year to make money.
You're sounding, that's pretty negative actually, Bob. So what should I do?
We've got to do things much, much differently. We have to be more energy self-sufficient. We have to reduce regulations. We have to reduce taxes, and we have to stop treating capitalists, entrepreneurs, and producers as though they are the enemy. And we have to get our fiscal house in order. We have to decrease the amount of government deficit spending. We have to get rid of the stimmy checks. We need to get rid of the intervention from the central planners at the Fed. And we need to increase the amount of GDP or economic output that is coming as a result of the private sector doing what they do well. I've been to over 40 countries in the world, and at the end of the day, I can tell you definitively that one huge advantage the United States has is our entrepreneurs are better than any other entrepreneurs in any country on the planet Earth today. So what we need to do is release those entrepreneurs, take the shackles off of their feet, and allow them to do what they do well. If we stop demonizing them, start encouraging them, giving them the tools and the support they need, we could take this transition or this situation of the United States losing reserve currency status and turn it into the best thing that has ever happened to the United States of America.
It's important to note that we're actually just 1 year into inflation. So just last January of 2021, inflation was only 1.4%. And many people are seeing everything go up. Like a couple of the common things that people buy is like coffee, for example. That's up 80% year over year. Wheat's up 69%. Crude oil's up 63%. So definitely, I think the Fed's number is understated, but people are seeing kind of pain just for the first year of inflation.
Now, Patrick, you probably haven't seen the channel for very long, but I remember warning my subscribers back in July about the price of coffee and it was going to explode due to all kinds of different events. But one primarily is a mass die-off during a ice storm in Brazil. And I said, get ready, because as supply dwindles on the shelves and in the warehouses, then the next set of commodities futures that start trading, they start going, where is it?
Hey guys, it's Jose, your regular Joe Blow, keeping an eye out and my ears open to news that impacts our day to day. Right now, guys, it's easy to get prepared and to get certain foods. Prepare, prepare, prepare. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. Do your own due diligence. I am for sure locking in certain prices when I buy and store certain essentials that I use day to day before prices hit those items in the near future. Extra canned foods, water, plus learning new things is always good. Like how to do's, survivals, and stuff like that on YouTube. Take advantage. Don't get caught off guard, guys. I stopped listening to this administration a long time ago since day one. Plus the feds. It's all show. But what I do is look at their actions and what they do. Prepare. Think for myself and my family. Guys, thank you for the support. Let's surf this wave for greener pastures. See you on the next one. Stay free.
tell. I excel, then